guys, I'm FPL Nymfria and welcome back to the home of FPL videos. My luck continues to be somewhat very unfortunate. Is it time to switch things up with a wildcard? Let's take a look at how I got on in game week 25 before considering my wildcard options for game week 26. Pope continues to punish sellers, and as one of them, McCarthy wasn't able to try and contend with his tough fixture against Liverpool. He did make 5 saves, but conceding 4 goals meant he was only able to add 1 point to my team total. Again, the only player to return in my defence was Trent. He had 91 touches, a shot blocked and made 8 crosses. His clean sheet got me 6 points. I also played the best of the rest when it came to my defenders. Rico was the only one who managed 2 points. Lundstrom and Soyuncu both ended on 1, and Kelly does now seem to have lost his place in the Palace team. In midfield, KDB was unable to return despite his 3 key passes, 1 shot off target and 1 shot on target with a shot blocked. Just 2 points from him. Grealish was a new addition to my team this week for Mane. 3 shots off target, 1 shot on target, and he did hit the woodwork. He was very unlucky not to get more than just 2 points. I still continue to be unconvinced by Traore, it has to be said. Don't get me wrong, he is such a good player, and he did have a shot on target that was blocked, but I just have this niggling feeling that he'll be an every now and again kind of returner, and I'm never sure if to start him, meaning I've made some real clangers when it comes to who to bench because of him, like leaving him on the bench last game week with an assist, and because of that playing him this week and benching Snodgrass with his monster haul of 18 points. I just didn't even consider Snoddy's opponents this week. I mean, it was such a major oversight, and most of that was just because the last couple of times I've benched Traore, he's done something, so he makes it very difficult for me to know what to do with him. Anyway, Traore added 3 points to my team total, and he may have a shoulder injury that we'll have to wait for updates on. What to say about Mo Salah, except that is it okay to feel a little aggrieved that managers who would never have had Mo if not for the Mane injury have gained from it, and therefore any advantage I had over those that plumped solely for Mane was cruelly taken away from me. Is that okay? Meaning that despite Mo scoring a brace as my captain for 32 points towards my team total, unfortunately it didn't help me much except keep my red arrow a kinda small one. Moving on to my forwards, and I have a new addition to my team, as you can see. I agonised over Aubameyang or Aguero this week, and in the end I reverted back to the safety of my boyfriend and the fact that I wanted another City attacker for the West Ham fixture coming up, if I don't get pepped, that is. But despite Aguero looking the most threatening player for City on the pitch with 2 shots on target that were blocked, winning a penalty and missing a big chance, it now seems that despite scoring his last 3 penalties, Pep hold on to the fact that Aguero missed one against Spurs last time, and that followed by the Zinchenko red card meant that Pep didn't give him the penalty and seen it fit to pull his best attacking threat from the pitch. Thankfully it was after the 60-minute mark, but my confidence in keeping Aguero going forward has been killed by Pep. I mean, I don't know if I can stay on that merry-go-round no matter how much I love Aguero. If he can pull him off during a game like that, Aguero will make way after West Ham. I was just lucky that Aubameyang, Jimenez and Tammy all returned the same. Otherwise, I would have been in a lot of trouble. Meaning this week at least that I only really covered my -4 and didn't gain from the new signings at all. The hope for Ings to score against his old club did not come to pass. 3 key passes and a shot on target, but just 2 points from him. And lastly, Vardy. What to do with this guy? Since Christmas and the new baby, it's like, what has happened to him? Everyone who got off on their wildcard last week looks to have benefited, especially monetary wise. Interestingly, his stats are not too dissimilar to Ings, a shot on target and a big shot created and missed. Although what we should know is that Chelsea conceded 2 goals, so the opportunities for Vardy to do better were there, whereas Ings, despite his trying, was up against one of the best defences in the league. Vardy completed my front line of little ducks on 2 points. All of that means I got 55 points, again resulting resulting in a surprisingly small red arrow, leaving me on an OR of 375,234. I'm just slowly trickling down the OR, so I know it could be much worse, but since game week 21 I have had 5 red arrows in a row, and the small reds have added up to roughly 125,000 OR drop now, so it's starting to become a bit of a problem that I have to address. The question is when and how. Looking ahead to game week 26, and this is how I'm currently lining up. Again, I feel as if I'm repeating myself, but it looks fine on paper. Fine though has done nothing for me recently, especially if we account for form and recent benchings, that is. So is it time to finally wildcard? Reasons why I'm leaning on the side of doing it are 5 red arrows in a row, lack of a third pool player with their great fixtures and form, leaking points in my defence, and factoring in how many players I change, I can count 8 players I would shift on easily, mainly focusing on the whole of my defence except Trent. With that, this is how my possible wildcard team looks right now. Other players I'm considering are Tanganga or Stevens for Messina, and the Grealish-Jimenez spots are still up for consideration. I'd love Aubameyang for his fixtures, but it's adding another blank player to the team and means dropping Van Dijk to Gomez for funds to get someone like Prudence in Grealish's place. I'm not convinced on Grealish now. These tougher fixtures and a blank has me reconsidering if I've done the right thing going with him last week. However, Southampton and percentage owned is enticing. Perez is a possible consideration for that spot. Wildcarding now means I can hopefully roll through 26 and have 2 free transfers to move on Grealish if I stick and Aguero, whilst benching Henderson, O'Connell and KDB in 28 and still having 1 live player on the bench, hopefully. This may be why Messina would have to be someone else as he faces Liverpool in 28. The question is now, is it the right time to do it? Last week in hindsight would have been the better option, and I'm told wildcarding going into a strange stretched out game week is not ideal, with not all the press conferences ahead of us. Although I see that as a case with my normal team anyway, but let's take a look at my options if I don't wildcard. Vardy to Firmino in 1 free transfer addresses the third pool player that I need and means no more hits, as does a straight swap for Kelly to Gomez, but Gomez also helps my defensive problem that I have. Question is if I want Gomez long term. He does seem to be nailed, but I don't know who's more likely dropped when it comes to rest when the Champions League kicks back in. Whilst using my wildcard is very tempting, I've never used it this early in the second half of the season, and navigating the blanks and doubles is terrifying without it. I could possibly miss out on Sheffield's possible chance of 2 more clean sheets before the double if I don't wildcard, with only having an in-out Lundstrom and them having Bournemouth and Brighton up next. I'd be very tempted to -4 to get a Sheffield defender in if I didn't wildcard, and if that didn't work out because the rest of my team didn't do so well, I'd then still be very tempted to wildcard over 26. Going early might help me with price rises there. But the plus sides for waiting on doing a wildcard is if it goes well with my transfers this week, then I could keep bumping the wildcard down the road and then maybe use it in the blank and doubles. Or if it really is bad, doing wildcard over 26 give me chances to correct any injuries if they happen over the long game week, if and when they happen, longer chance to see new players at their new clubs to see how they get on, and it means I get to keep Aguero for West Ham and get rid of him easier afterwards. It also gives me another look at Vardy before deciding if it really is time to get off of him despite a long run of really great green arrows around the corner. Honestly, Nymfam, I'm very unsure. I have never felt like this in FPL ever. I've always been so clear and concise, especially at this stage in the season. So I'm very stuck. It's clear something has to change here, but is another -4 enough? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And lastly, moving on to my trending transfers this week, let's take a look at how things could develop ahead of game week 26. Of the goalkeepers, Henderson is by far the trendiest player in this week with over 76,000 plus purchases. Pope is the next highest but nowhere near as close with over 32,000 buys. The goalkeepers making way are a little close though, with Schmeichel and Ryan fighting it out with over 27,000 sales. In defence, Lord Lundstrom has lost his crown as 77,000 managers hop off of the loved Sheffield United defender. Kelly is the next closest but still with some distance on 38,000 sales. Baldock, Van Dijk, Trent and O'Connell are all very close to claim the trendiest defender in this week with over 20,000 plus purchases. In midfield, Salah has dominated the transfers in this week with Mane out of action. Over 161,000 of you have flocked to the Liverpool midfielder. There are some differentials some distance behind with Son, Traore and Barnes all on 40 plus thousand purchases. Mane is the big make way for Salah with a massive 168 plus thousand sales. Maddison and Martial are next but nowhere near close with over 50,000 sales each. Up front there doesn't seem much movement. Vardy is the trendiest forward out with over 93,000 sales. Tammy is next behind him with 35,000 managers getting rid of the Chelsea man. Firmino and Jimenez are close to fighting it out as the trendiest forward in this week, with both of them being picked up by over 60 plus thousand managers. Ings is the next closest in this week with over 52 plus thousand purchases. And that's it you guys. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to check out my sponsors fantasyfootballfix.com. And before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, Nymfria out.